Our next game, the Lions at New Orleans. The Lions had a commanding lead early in this game and then kind of started to fall apart, but they end up pulling out the win on the back of Sam Laporta, who caught all 9 of his targets for 140 yards and a touchdown. Guys, I said on this show a lot last year in the offseason, this rookie tight end class will really help reset a barren wasteland.
Yes.
I did not expect this from Sam Laporta this year. It's just remarkable what he's doing in Ben Johnson's offense.
36% target share in Week 13. He now has at least 4 receptions in 10 of 12 games so far this year. He's on pace for 90 receptions, almost 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I mean, it's unbelievable what Laporta has done as well. We said quite a while ago that he is going to be the that he would, that he was kind of locked in as a top 5 tight end, and depending on how Kelsey and Andrews is out for the year, and we'll see how Kelsey ends the season, but Hawkinson's right there, Laporta's a top 4 guy-ish. I
think he's
top
number
4,
1.
5.
Right.
That's where I was going. There's an argument to be made that next year Laporta should be the number 1 tight end in fantasy.
Yep. No, he was.
I don't know if I'm there just yet, but there's an argument to be made as well. We got a number of questions yesterday on Fantasy Football Pregame about should you use Sam Laporta as a flex? And in some cases we were like yes, in some cases we were like I don't know. I'm nervous about using a tight end in a flex. I do think he has the best shot at a touchdown. I would be lying if I said I expected almost 30 fantasy points from Laporta yesterday. Just a monster game for him, what he's doing in Ben Johnson's offense. And it is because of the success of Laporta is one of the reasons why the running backs didn't have monster games in a game that they put up over 30 points and, kind of move the ball at will.
Jay, for the Saints side of things, the Alvin Kamara scheme, as we like to call it, in full effect with the 6 catches, 58 yards, but it also helps that he ran for 2 touchdowns in this game as well.
Yeah, I think the takeaway, this Detroit Lions defense is terrible.
It's awful.
It might be a bottom 3, bottom 4 unit in the entire NFL. They just have no prayer. And Cris Olave, he goes off as well. Kamara gets the work done. He gets the 2 touchdowns, does his Ponzi scheme thing of getting the 6 receptions, though these were actually valuable. I think the story is that Derek Carr goes out, Jameis comes in, doesn't look great. But for me, the big takeaway is that you start everyone against Detroit because they have no prayer at the moment stopping people, particularly through the air.
They play the Bears next week. They're on the road at the Bears, the Lions are, and then home to Denver at Minnesota. To your point about Kamara, I think one thing that was encouraging, in addition to just sort of the dump-offs, and he had 4 goal-to-go rushes.
Yeah.
Right? They're using him in close. That is as many as he's had in the previous 4 games combined. They get cute with Taysom Hill and they do some other stuff
13
around
carries.
the goal line. But, huge game for Kamara, who heads into Monday Night Football as the number 1 running back in fantasy. You mentioned Olave, now back-to-back games with over 110 yards receiving. He's had 4 more deep targets, 2 of the last 3. Derek Carr, we're going to talk about that injury in a little bit, but if Jameis is going to start for any extended period of time for the Saints, this is good news for Cris Olave. And Taysom Hill continues to be it's not a traditional tight end, but he's a tight end for fantasy and continues to put up tight end 1 numbers.
And he's a tight end 5 going into Monday
That's what I'm
Night
saying.
Football, right?
He's a top 10 tight end.
No matter how you slice it,
Yeah.
he's a top 10 tight end.
Double-digit touches, 3 of the last 4.
Our final game, the Texans hold on against the Broncos, 2 teams that have been hot for a long time right now. And with the Texans, their wide receivers were healthy going into this game. Brutal Tank Dell injury we'll get to in a second, but Nico Collins is the beneficiary of the C.J. Stroud passing attack, catches 9 passes for 191 yards and a touchdown, Jay. This version of Nico Collins with Stroud playing quarterback, he comes into Monday Night Football as wide receiver 3 right now.
He's a monster. He may well be a top 10 wide receiver the rest of the way, given that Tank Dell is unfortunately expected to go on injured reserve.
Will.
Yeah. Nico
fibula.
Collins he is a monster, and with Stroud playing the way that he is, he has a very high floor and a very high ceiling. And I don't think he's going to go for 191 yards every week, but he is an absolute monster, Matthew.
The schedule gets a little tougher. They're at the Jets this week, and then at Tennessee, home to Cleveland, and then home to Tennessee. But 46% target share for Nico Collins. 3rd straight game with at least 7 receptions on the season. He's the 9th best wide receiver in fantasy football. So he's already, on the season, he's a top 10 wide receiver. And my expectation is that's only going to continue to go up after the injury to Tank Dell, which is just sucks, man. Again, Tank Dell is my guy. Obviously, hey, Tank Dell drinks free today. Honestly, Tank Dell drinks free any single day he walks into the happy hour bar. We love Tank Dell. I am incredibly bummed about this, as was C.J. Stroud after the game, just talking about how hurt he was, and just, I mean, I think this quote from Stroud was, I'm hurt. Not going to try to sugarcoat it. We're all hurt. 17 leagues. I have Tank Dell like in 14 of them. Yeah. So this is a huge loss for me. Not to make it about me, but that's kind of my superpower, is that I can make whatever it is about me. It's kind of the one few challenge I have. Yeah, it just sucks. But what I would think is, here's the other thing that's interesting about this game. Tank Dell goes out on a weird play. Why is he in on a goal line rush? That's the thing. I'm going to go onto a rant.
It's like 165 pounds.
On a soaking wet.
Yeah.
Yes.
He should not. Stupid. But whatever. Horrible for Tank Dell. Get back soon. Get well soon. We're rooting for you, Tank. We all love you here. As it relates to the Texans, the only people that caught more than one pass in this game were Nico Collins and Brevin Jordan.
Yeah.
So, maybe they get Noah Brown, get him going again, and I mean,
John
Robert
Mechie?
Woods,
John Mechie almost caught
maybe
it.
a little bit, but
yeah.
I think Dalton Schultz, and maybe what they do is they just start leaning on the run game even more. Dameon Pierce has himself a nice game, plays almost 40% of the snaps, which was up from 19% last week. 38% exactly, but all 3 snaps inside the 5-yard line went to Dameon Pierce. It's his most carries in a game since week 5. You see it there on your screen. Not huge game, 15 for 41, but he scores the touchdown, just 10 fantasy points, but certainly better than what Singletary did. Motor did not have himself a day. No, just 1 catch for 4 yards, because they were just, it felt like the Broncos were weird, but we're going to dare you to throw. Because they were just, the Texans weren't able to run the ball, which we thought they would be able to against Denver, and they just passed all over them.
It was a very strange game overall. Never really found its rhythm. Russ, who's avoided picks all season, throws 3 of them in, I think, 3 and 4 drives as well. So bit of a strange game overall. Just lastly on this, Connor, do you think Nico Collins can be a number 1 wide receiver with the additional attention?
I do. He's big. He's physical. Stroud is a guy that constantly gives his players a chance to go up and get the ball. I think he's been a more precise route runner this year. The rapport is evident. Nico Collins, people are holding on to where he was drafted and how he's perceived when they had nothing at quarterback. And now that they have a highly functioning offense under Bobby Slowick, Nico Collins is a guy that can handle that workload as a top wide receiver. It's been awesome to watch.
Yep.
Yeah. No, listen, the Texans, that's a really bright future.
Yes.
It's a really bright. When you think about Stroud, Dell, and Collins, whatever with the running backs.
And the offensive line.
Offensive line, exactly. And
Two best stories in the NFL this year are both in the AFC South for mine, Texans and Colts. The fact that these 2 teams are 7-5 and are probably both going to make the playoffs is insane.
Yeah, really fun. I don't know that there's much to take away other than the confidence we had in Devin Singletary, I think, has to dissipate a little bit. I think we're back to a timeshare with these 2 guys on the road at the Jets next week. They're both going to be, flex plays, basically, touchdown-dependent flex plays.
Before we go to break, let's look at some injuries we are tracking. These are the notable Week 13 injuries, of course.
It was a brutal week, dude.
Derek Carr with the classic 3 different injuries on the graphic. Not what you want to see. Head, shoulder, back. Kenny Pickett with a pretty serious ankle injury. He is not expected to play Thursday night football.
He's going to miss a couple of weeks, Kenny Pickett is.
Derek Henry in concussion protocol. Ramondre Stevenson with a pretty significant ankle injury. Brian Robinson with the hamstring. Of course, Tank Dell's out for the year with the fractured fibula. Hollywood Brown with the heel injury. Christian Watson, who, when he plays, effective, but this is the story, constantly banged up. Mark Cooper has concussion. Tyler Higbee with a head injury right now.
Yeah, we'll talk about a lot of these tomorrow when we get into the waiver wire show and sort of the replacements and as the week goes on as well. But Pickett's going to be out for a while. Stevenson, that's the Thursday night game, Steelers and Patriots, so unlikely to see Stevenson as well. Ezekiel Elliott could get the run. We'll see about Henry, but Tajay Spears would be the guy if they can't go. Brian Robinson, that was a weird one, but he just all of a sudden left, so now you're looking at some Antonio Gibson and Chris Rodriguez. They're on a bye this week again, so maybe there's time to heal for B-Rob and Amari Cooper. That one was a tough one.
I have to say, with the Kenny Pickett injury, it looks like he might miss 2 to 3 weeks is the expectation. The total on Thursday Night Football, Patriots-Steelers, is 31. That's insane.
It's lower than Jets-Falcons.
By the way...
Sorry, no, now it's 30.5. It's 30.5.
And
it was Jets-Falcons 34.
I think it opened at 32, and it opened at 32.5. It's at 30 now.
Yeah.
And I'll say this.
You like the under?
Give me the under.
Yeah.
Right. I kind of like, right?
Trick.
They played it. So the Patriots just had a 6-0 game where they scored 0 points. By success rate, one way to measure offense, it wasn't one of their 5 worst performances of the season. You know how insane that is?
That's
to score 0
absurd.
points, and it's not one of your 5 worst because they've been shut out earlier by the Saints. They've done nothing for so long. Yeah, it's going to be a barn burner.
Right, and I mean, like, so right. I mean, like, the Patriots have a functional defense, and the Steelers have a good defense. We'll talk about James Conner in a second, but like, ultimately, like for the most part, the Steelers have played pretty good defense, and the Patriots have played decent defense. I mean, again, they held the Chargers to 6 points, right? But now you've got two offenses that just can't move the ball. Mitch Trubisky versus Bailey Zappi. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.